good morning to you all. My name is Vinu Venkatesh and welcome to another class of mine. We're going to discuss pronouns today. We've been talking about nouns so far, so this would be my lecture 7 and we are starting pronouns today. Right? So what is a pronoun? A pronoun is nothing but a word which is used in place of a noun to avoid repetition. Things like he, she, it, they, theirs, etc. Like a noun, pronouns have genders as well as they have the singular as well as the plural form. All right. Pronouns also have something called a case. What is a case of a pronoun? The case of a pronoun can be thought of as a version of a pronoun. There are three cases of pronouns: the subjective or the nominative case, the objective case, and the possessive case. The subjective or the nominative case is the version of the pronoun when the pronoun is used as a subject. It includes things like I, we, you, he, she, they, and it. The objective case is a version of the pronoun when it is used after a verb. It includes pronouns like me, us, your, him, her, them, and it. The possessive case is a version of a pronoun which is used to indicate possession or ownership. It is the version that the pronoun takes on when we use it to indicate possession or ownership. It includes pronouns such as mine, my, our, ours, yours, your, his, her, hers, theirs, and its. Subjective or nominative case pronouns are also called personal pronouns, right? And we have to remember one more thing, that in case of pronouns, we should always know what is the first person, the second person, and third person. So the first person in the subjective case, in the singular form, is I, right? I go to school. The plural of the first person is we go to school. In the objective case, the first person is me in the singular and us in the plural. In the possessive case, the first person is mine or my in the singular and our and ours in the plural. The second person in the subjective case is you, singular as well as plural. In the objective case, the singular or the plural of the second person is your. In the possessive case, it becomes your or yours in the plural. The third person in the subjective case is basically he, she in the singular form, and it also in the singular form, and they in the plural form. In the objective case, the third person singular includes him, her, it, and in the plural form, it becomes them. In the possessive case, the third person becomes his or her and their in the singular form. In the plural form, it becomes hers or theirs or its in the possessive case. So these are the cases of the pronoun. Why is it important? Because it's important to identify these pronouns when they appear in a particular sentence. They can appear in any of these three versions. Now let's move on to rules of pronouns, because as we discussed, without rules, without vocabulary, you can never learn a language, be it English or any other kind of language. All right. So what is the first rule? The first rule is very simple. It says that when we use three or more than one singular personal pronouns. So what are personal pronouns? Personal pronouns are nothing but pronouns in the subjective case. Things like I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. But here we are saying when we use three or more than one singular personal pronouns in a sentence, and if the sentence is positive, then the order in which we use these personal pronouns or the subjective case pronouns should always be in the second person. It should always be second person, third person, and first person. Meaning we should always use the second person first, the third person second, and the first person as the third. Let's take a look at an example. You, he, and I are watching TV. Now, there are more than one personal pronouns. These are all subjective case pronouns or personal pronouns, correct? Now, there are more than one. There are in fact three. And is there anything negative in this sentence? Absolutely not. They're just saying you, he, and I are watching TV. So as per this rule, we have to use a second person first, which is what? You. We have to use next we have to use a third person, which is what? He. And last we have to use a first person, which is I. So this sentence is correct. You, he, and I are watching TV. So this is right. Now, second sentence, I and he is going to school. Now here we have to we have to also be careful that in this particular rule, there is another addition to this rule. What does it say? It says that the verb that has to be used should always be in the plural form when we are using 3 or more than 1 personal pronouns in a sentence. It makes sense, right? Because there are more than one persons. So obviously the verb should also be plural and not singular. Mind you, the personal pronouns are in the singular form, but the number of the personal pronouns is more than 1, and that's why we use the verb in the plural form. So this sentence, let's take a look. I and he is going to school. So first of all, what types of pronouns are these? These are personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns in the singular form. Agreed? Okay. As per this rule, is the sentence positive? Yes. There's nothing negative about it, so it is positive. Is the order correct? No, it's not correct because we have to use the second person first, the next followed by the third person, and then the first person. Here, there is no second person. So we have to use a third person, right? So the sentence becomes he and I. Look at the verb. The verb used is singular. It doesn't make sense because there are 2 people and therefore the verb has to be plural. And we have to say he and I are going to school, not he and I is going to school. Got it? What happens if the sentence is negative? Negative in the sense that suppose if the sentence is talking about some crime or flaw or somebody's mistake or somebody getting punishment and so on, then the sentence has a negative tone to it. Or somebody is doing something wrong such as robbing or murdering, then the sentence definitely has a negative tone to it, and then the rule is different. What does the rule say? Suppose if we use 3 or more than 1 singular personal pronouns, that is subjective case pronouns, in a negative sentence, then the order of the pronouns should be as the first person followed by the second person and then the third person. And the verb always has to be plural because again we are talking about more than 1 people and therefore the verb has to agree with the number of the subjects and definitely has to be in the plural. Let's take a look at an example. You, he and I have robbed the bank. First and foremost, what kind of pronouns are these? These are singular personal pronouns or singular subjective case pronouns. Agreed? Right. Is the sentence negative? It is negative because they're talking about some forbidden activity such as robbing. Okay. So what should the order of the personal pronouns be? It should be first person, second person, and then third person. So we should write I, you, and he have robbed the bank, right? The verb has to be in the plural form and therefore it is have and not has. So this is how we correct these kind of sentences. Now, second rule. What if we use 3 or more than 1 plural personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns of different people in a sentence with a positive or a negative meaning? In this case, whether the sentence is positive or negative, it does not matter because we always have to follow one order. We have to follow the first person followed by the second person and then the third person. So I repeat, when we have 3 or more than 1 plural personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns such as we, we, they, and it, then we have to use the order as first person, second person, and third person, regardless of whether the sentence is positive or negative. It doesn't matter. Let's take a look at an example. All right. You, we, and they are cooking food. So firstly, what kind of pronouns are these? These are plural personal pronouns or subjective personal pronouns, right? Is the sentence positive? It is positive. What is the verb? The verb is plural. The verb always has to be plural because we are talking about more than 1 persons. But is the order correct? It's not correct. We have to follow first person, second person, and third person. So here we have to say we, you, and they are cooking food. Second example. They, we, and you have gone to Pune. Again, we are using plural personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns, right? The sentence is positive, the verb is also plural. But is the order of the personal pronouns correct? No, they're not. We have to use first person, second person, and third person because these are plural personal pronouns And regardless of whether the sentence is positive or negative, we have to use them in the order first person, second person, and third person in case of 3 or more than 1 plural personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns. So the sentence becomes we, you, and they, first person, second person, and third person, have gone to Pune. Alright? Now, rule number 3. The possessive case of more than one pronoun used as a common subject takes the following structure. Now, before we get to the rule, let's talk about an example so that you get an idea as to what we are referring to. The sentence is, you, she, and I have to finish my homework. What is the sentence talking about? What is a common subject here? The common subject is my homework. Okay? So, and here we have to talk about, it is my homework. So it is a possessive case pronoun. Alright? So in such a case, but there are more than 3 people involved. So what do we have to do? In such a case, what the rule is saying is that when there are more than one person's or one pronouns involved and there is a common possessive case subject, then if I, that is the first person singular personal pronoun I is there, if I is there in that sentence, then the possessive case pronoun becomes our. If you is there in the sentence, that is the second person of the subjective case pronoun, but there is no I, that is the first person of the subjective case pronoun is not there, then the possessive case of the common subject becomes your. Okay? If both I and you are not there in the sentence, then the possessive case pronoun of the common subject becomes their. So the sentence that we looked at, you, she, and I have to finish my homework. So there is a common subject called my homework. Now, what is this rule saying? The rule is saying that in such a case, when there is a possessive case common subject and there is an I in that sentence, then the possessive case of the common subject should become our. So we have to say, you, she, and I have to finish our homework. Alright? Be careful. Now, you, she, and I are what kind of pronouns? They are singular personal pronouns. What is the type of sentence? Is a positive sentence. There's nothing negative about it. So what is the rule that we have to follow? We have to follow the rule 2-3-1. What is 2-3-1? Second person followed by third person and then the first person, right? So how do we rephrase this sentence? We say, give me a minute. We say, you, she, and I have to finish our homework. The verb is in the plural, agreed, so that is correct. That is not a problem. Let's take a look at another example. She and you must finish her meal. Okay. Now, what is a common subject here? Her meal, right? What is a possessive case pronoun? Her. In this sentence, there is only you and she and you. There is no I. So as per this rule, the possessive case pronoun should become your. So instead of her meal, we have to say your meal. Now, what are she and you? She and you are singular personal pronouns or subjective case pronouns. The sentence is positive, correct? The verb must is correct. Must finish. But is the order correct? No, the order should be second person, third person, and first person. So here we only have second person and third person. So how do we say the sentence? You and she must finish your meal. Okay? Now, next example. He and she should bring your iCard. Now, what is the common subject here? iCard. What is a possessive case personal pronoun that is used? Your. But as per the sentence, when there is no I and you in a sentence with a common subject, then the possessive case pronoun to be used should be their. All right. The sentence is positive. The verb is correct. What about the subjects? The subjects are he and she. He and she are what? They are singular personal pronouns. Is there any question of order? No, there's no question of order because they are both in the third person. So how do we rephrase the sentence? We say he and she should bring their iCard and not your iCard. All right. Now, moving on to rule number 4. Rule number 4 says that an objective case personal pronoun that is things like me, him, her, them, it, us, and your. Objective case pronouns, that is pronouns used after a verb, can never be used as the subject of a particular sentence. For example, I cannot say you and me are good friends. What is me? Me is an objective case pronoun and it should come only after a verb. Is there a verb here? No. So it should be you and I are good friends. The sentence is positive and you and I are singular personal pronouns in the correct order. Correct? Similarly, now let's move on to rule number 5. Rule number 5 says that the phrase to be, that is, am, are, was, were, be, been, being, is generally followed by the subjective case personal pronoun. Let's take a look at an example. Suppose, look at this example, none wants to be him. So there is this phrase called to be, right? What does this rule say? The rule says that this phrase should be followed generally by a subjective case personal pronoun. What is the type of pronoun that is used in the sentence? It is him. What is him? Him is an objective case pronoun which is used only and only after a verb. So here it says, so here we have to use a subjective case pronoun and the sentence then becomes none wants to be he. All right? Now, moving on to the third example, are us going to the ball? It is not right to use are us, it is are we going to the ball. It is because we is a subjective case pronoun and us is an objective case pronoun. So these are certain specific rules of pronouns and there is no choice but to actually memorize them and know these rules. But don't break your head over it. Some of it is just common sense. Some of it is what you have already heard and read, in English. You may have read these in good books. You may have heard these in good shows. So again, there is no substitute for reading. There is no substitute to watching good English shows. I urge you to keep that on while studying so that it gives you a feel. You start hearing the right phrases and the right phrases and sentence constructions which will help you in your exams as well as in your daily lives. So this is it from me for today. We will be continuing with pronouns in our next class. So until then, I'd like to wish you all the very best and see you next time. Ciao. And ciao, by the way, is Italian, not English. But still, I'd like to use multiple languages and I'd like to say ciao. Take care.